April 4th, 2017. We're starting at about 7:05, so we're a few minutes late, but I want to thank you for coming, expressing your concerns by the looks of it, and I'd also ask you to, before I forget, silence your cell phones and notice the locations of the emergency exits, please. I would like to have a moment of silence. We have some staff members who lost loved ones, but more importantly, if anybody got to watch the news earlier, there was a chemical gas attack, nerve agent in Syria, and they showed pictures of kids like foaming at the mouth and coughing. It really broke my heart. So I'd like to have a moment of silence for the people in Syria as well. Please stand for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, a public notice of this meeting has been sent to board members, all district schools, the Herald News, the Trends, the Record, the Messenger, West Milford Town Hall, and the County Superintendent's Office, the Board Attorney, and Cablevision of Warwick, and it has been posted in the Administration Building. Copies of the board meeting calendar resolution were provided to all local media, Town Hall, Township Library, and all district schools. Roll call, please, Mrs. Francisco.
Mr. Bailey? Mr. Seidowitz?
Here.
Mr. Drew?
Here.
Mrs. Dwyer? Here. Mr. Foodie?
Present.
Mrs. Fritz? Mr. Huber?
Here.
Mrs. O'Brien? Mr. Robbins?
Here.
Mrs. Fritz is just coming
Nicole
in.
just walked in. Purpose of this meeting is to review the 2017-18 district budget and to take action on HIBs. We normally have our Budget and Finance Committee meeting, would have been tonight, but we decided to have a committee meeting of the whole, and that's why we called the special meeting. So, Glenn, would you care to read the resolution for executive session, please?
I will move to approve the following resolution. Resolve that the board go into executive session. What time do you want to do it?
Let's say 8:30.
At 8:30 p.m. to approve the following. I'm sorry, 8:30 p.m. for approximately 30 minutes for the purpose of discussing HIBs and matters of attorney-client privilege.
I'll second that.
The executive session minutes will not be released until such time as the privilege of confidentiality is no longer applicable.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Terry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Petitions and requests. Petitioners requested to speak prior to the meeting will be first with 5 minutes for each petitioner for a period of 30 minutes, and then time permitting, other petitions and requests limited to 5 minutes per petitioner will be allowed until the 30-minute period transpires. Petitioners speaking during petitions and requests are asked to address topics listed in the agenda. All speakers are asked to give their full name, spell their last name, and provide their address. Speakers may not use the names of students during petitions and requests. I see that we did have Jamie DeVore asked to be put on the agenda. So Jamie, it's all yours, my friend.
Okay, good evening, everybody, members of the board, Mr. President, staff. Actually, on this side, you get a little nervous when you're standing at this mic. I don't know, this one's a little safer there behind the desk. Tonight, you guys are going to talk about the budget. And just so the public knows, this is like Godzilla versus whoever. The budget is always a big discussion, compromise. There's all stuff going on. There's wants and needs. And the budget is very important because the people who we elected as board members make that decision for us on our behalf. The staff, of course, wants to ask for as much as they can because they could use that money. They could always use more money. And the taxpayers of West Milford are crying out that, hey, our taxes are high, and what's our return on investment? Are we getting new fields? Are we getting scoring higher on the tests? People don't mind paying, including myself. We work on a budget. Everybody works on an employer. It's tight, and the budgets around the state and the country are tight because we're in. And you can see in West Milford by how many houses are for sale that West Milford is in tough times too. So I'm asking each and every board member where that money's going to, how much benefit are we getting for that money. When you guys vote for to pay for that, some people pay more than others. It's tough for people, young, difficult to every year get and have to pay more and more and more. So I hope you guys can all make a decision together and come up here for the district that's going to meet those requirements. This isn't a free-for-all. This isn't just a big pot. To really be conscious about, do we need an increase or do we want an increase for $78 million, whatever it's at now? She's done that when I was on the board and we were able to. So again, please, board members, it's the only anything like that, but we have to say in this budget. And it also puts pressure on numbers because when you guys come in low, they look bad. If you guys come in high and they're like, well, we're doing our job. And so just be conscious about what you're discussing and voting for. Because in the end, it's almost like buyer's regret. After that vote, it's done. The budget's signed. So please be cognizant. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Yeah, we have Mrs.
Oh.
Abrazic.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. You sent the email.
I'm talking on behalf of the budget. I'm a parent from Upper Greenwood Lake School, and I'm here tonight. Currently, my daughter is in Miss Conklin's second grade class and having a and I was very concerned at the time because I knew she was behind in her letter sounds and recognitions, and I knew she was going to need a little extra. I immediately brought my concerns up with Mr. Novak, who was the principal at the time. Were going to be big for kindergarten. Luckily, we had a few last minute. Over the last, I lost some students. I've expressed concern every year. At a time when our bridge just yet. We still have 43 students enrolled. Which are allowed our students. Keeping class sizes smaller is everyone's number one goal in this. Even lower than ours. This is very promising. The way it is. If the proposed budget doesn't pass, we all know that someone somewhere is going to have to pay to keep things the way they currently are, and that may involve cutting staff to make up for it. If we keep digging a hole, how do you... We're here tonight looking toward for that same reason. If the proposed budget does not pass, that we would when my son, who is currently in 5th grade, 3rd grade takes many of the kids by surprise, and their maturity to handle UGL is very unique because we have a aspects of teaching years in Pearl Miller Middle School in Kinnelon before I had my son. My goal as a teacher was always to plan lessons in labs and teach to meet everyone. Differentiated instruction, just keep her head above water, the 2nd grade. advice being manageable, Mrs. Conklin has been able to give her some one-on-one instruction when she struggles to master a skill, and I'm so thankful for that. In support of all our schools, district, we're here tonight to simply say that we hope that this is put into consideration when reviewing the proposed budget.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Do I have any time left?
Maybe. Better keep it short.
Run up.
When you guys discuss this tonight, can you please explain to everyone that just because the budget doesn't increase means that we're going to be cutting staff? I'm not advocating by any means to maintain the budget and then class size is smaller. I voted for that. They're learning and how they're going to study. So I'm not advocating for any of that. To the public. So it's not a scare tactic to everybody say, oh, if you don't make the budget higher, that's it. Think about this. Let's talk about where you can make logical cuts, if you have to make any cuts at all, because we do have surpluses. And steady, while still maintaining all the programs and the staff and the sports programs that we like for our kids. So I just wanted to close with that. A lot of times during budget, there's scare tactics on both sides. Everyone's like, we got to cut, we got to increase, and somewhere in the middle is where it lies, where it's fair. Thanks.
Thank you, Jamie. Anybody else like to speak?
Seeing none, move to close petition and request.
Second?
Second.
Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Just to real quick reiterate what Mr. Dever had said. Last year we had a 0% increase, and we made darn sure we did not affect any of the programs for our children. And that's key. I think that, you know, when you said that we had a 0% tax increase and we didn't dig a hole. You know, we crossed our T's and dotted our I's. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this board is very cognizant of the fact that we're here for education, but we're also got to realize the taxpayers' abilities to pay. So with that, Steve, I think we're moving on to.
Can you do education first? Can we get that?
Well, we're gonna do that, Steve.
All right, that's fine.
Afterwards. So.
All right. Certainly, fine, great. I would like to. We've got a few things on the budget agenda that we would have discussed in a smaller committee meeting that don't necessarily have anything to do with the budget itself. And so I would like to put those after the general discussion regarding the budget.
Okay, Steve, real quick, we need to adopt a motion, or adopt the agenda as presented. And one thing I did notice, I did notice that we're missing budget and finance discussion on this.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was just looking for it.
So we're gonna add that one in,
Before education.
because we just go right into education with nothing on there with regards to. So
We can add that before education.
yeah, and just after we adopt the agenda. So everybody will put on, after adopting the agenda, budget and finance to discuss the 2017-18 budget.
And
And then change the education to 11 and the German to 12.
Yes.
then are we going to do old business and new business, or?
No.
It's not really a regular.
No, it's really
We just did
for.
the budget, and then we had two hips kind of pop up.
Just checking.
Yeah. All right, so Who's going to make the motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
Thank you, Glenn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you for budget and finance, but I would, before we do that, is there any comments with regards to the budget that any board member would like to make before we start this discussion?
I don't know if this is the comment to make now, but in December, when the auditors spoke before us, one of them told us that we had a 2.9 million surplus that we could use for taxpayer relief. And,
Yes.
you know, I would hope that we could, remembering that, I hope that we could do that. Just
Okay.
the thought.
Any comments? Go ahead, Steve.
I'd like to reiterate what Mr. Dever said, that when we looked at this last year where to cut, we did not cut anything related to education projects. And I think, I don't pretend to speak for the board, but having talked to everybody, I think every one of us agrees that education is our first priority, and that being careful with taxpayer money comes after that. There is no question that class size makes a huge difference in the primary grades. Absolutely huge difference. Now, on the other hand, it doesn't make as much difference in high school and middle school. And for example, it does not make as much difference as a good teacher in the upper grades. But in the lower grades, the kids need that attention. I don't think anybody intends to do anything that would impact what we've got. I think we've worked very hard to get the class sizes we've got in our schools, and it seems to be working well. We're getting the kids off to a good start, and I think we want to continue it. There seems to be sort of a general confusion in the United States that, almost everybody you ask says they want to improve education. And this is particularly true in politics. Everybody wants to improve education, and they think that spending more money will improve education. And the reality is it does not. You have to spend it on the things that actually improve education. The education department was founded a little less than 40 years ago, and spending on education during that time has gone from $20 billion a year to $80 billion a year. Educational performance has remained flat on average, although educational performance among Black Americans has improved. But we've spent a lot more money. We haven't really improved education. What has happened is that America's standing compared to our competitors, OECD nations, has gone from the top of the list to the bottom of the list. So we're not doing well. And it isn't because we're not spending money. We are spending money. We need to be careful about where we spend money. And I think the best example that I could give recently is Mark Zuckerberg, the chairman and founder of Facebook, gave $100 million to Newark. Generously, what a great guy to do that, to improve education. And that money was, just to be honest, was wasted by Newark. Money down a rat hole. Not an iota of difference in performance on math and English tests. I'm not surprised that Newark did that. I would like to think if we got some kind of bonus like that we would do better with the money, but the whole point is that just spending money doesn't do any good. With that, would you mind reiterating for me what we're spending money on in this budget that's going to improve education? I know there are a couple of projects in particular that will do that, and I guess it could be either Barbara or Dr. Animals.
For the most part, this is a maintenance budget, which means that the programs that have been in place in the current year are being continued next year.
Yeah.
And we're also increasing our professional development and capstone program, which Dr. Anamon will talk about.
Capstone's a smaller program, doesn't affect the whole district. I mean, ideally, it will affect more and more each year as students, even the little kids, as they cycle through the high school, they'll have that opportunity to be part of the AP capstone program. We're working on a solution to expand the pre-AP program at Macapin. We think we can probably double the participation there. And most importantly, we're investing in our staff, either long-term in professional development, technology, but most importantly, rehiring our staff. So that's one way we can invest in education, is to bring back the teachers we have working this year and make sure they're back with us in September. So that's probably the most critical thing we can do. It's a labor-intensive industry. It's not automaking where, you used to have 1,000 people working, now there's 50 and 100 robots, or whatever. This is still the type of industry where people matter, and the right people matter even more. So I hope that answers some of your questions.
If I can add to that, I know my understanding is that we have put some money in the budget for the biology program and microscopes and some equipment for biology classes. Is that
Yes, we
correct?
did.
We also are hoping to renovate both greenhouses, one at Macapin, one at the high school, which is deeply tied in with our new focus on STEM in both buildings. So if you look at our school district with 13 grades, 6 grades will be positively affected with a renovated STEM, renovated greenhouse. Grades, all students in grades 7 through 12.
Great, thank you.
Jump in.
And if I could reiterate about the AP program, even though we're starting small, from what I have read and what I have observed in my discussions with people, expanding the AP program to all students and conducting more classes is one of the things that you can do to improve educational performance. Kids who take AP classes, the people who develop them have spent millions of dollars to find the best ways to teach those subjects, to generate materials, and kids who take AP classes perform better in math, English, so on and so forth. So to the extent that we can, and that includes, by the way, inner cities, kids who you wouldn't normally think of as being AP kids, if they take the AP English instead of the regular English, they learn more English and they do better. So we're kind of getting started with that, and it works. It will improve education. I would encourage everybody to ask their kids to take those classes and be challenged. I think we've adjusted the grading scales to make sure that we're not penalizing kids who've decided to challenge themselves by taking a harder class. They'll still get a normal grade, so I just, I couldn't be more supportive of that. I can say that I'm a little disappointed that we're going up in the budget by so much, and we've had a decline in enrollment, and we don't have more education projects. Professional development, I think, is an excellent thing to do, given the size of our district. Giving our teachers better training is just, that's money well spent that can only do better. Personally, I've discussed several times that I would like to see us adopt a new math program. We've discussed it a little bit. You want to do it next year because it takes a while to put in place. I can tell you that within a week, I can find out what math program the 25 best districts in New Jersey have. Having done those kinds of studies for McKinsey, you just call them up, you say you're the director of whatever the heck it is, and even though you only get about half of them the first time, they call you back. We could find out what the best math program is, and we could do that within a week. And then you call them back and say, what did it take you to put it in? How much did it cost? How much training time did you have to have? I would not give up on trying to do that for this year, or at least doing enough of a study to figure out, whether that is something that we could do. It would be aggressive to do it this year. I would be happy to spend money in the budget for improving math scores in West Milford. I think I've heard from citizen after citizen that, there are plenty of good things that we're doing. But the single thing we want the most is improvement in math and English scores. Period, end of story. So let's do it. Let's get about doing it. I know we can, we can make progress. So that's the one thing I'll say about that.
Okay.
With that,
One other aspect of the budget that we didn't point out was the renovation of the STEM lab at Macapin. Significant technology, furniture, electronics infrastructure, everything that goes into turning that into an empty space with a epoxy floor.
We're doing that in this budget, though, aren't we? This budget cycle, right now, that we're currently in.
It's been an ongoing
Ongoing
process.
thing, yeah.
We started last year with cleaning up the space. We added a few Chromebooks this year and some furniture that they found in different parts of the building. But we're in the process
So
of
now where
trying
we
to...
want it to be.
Yeah, no, understood, but, I mean, we don't have a set figure that we're spending on that in this budget.
There's some tables and I believe there's some technology
Okay.
to make it a room that can be utilized.
Okay. Well,
I will just tack on to Mr. Drew's comments that I would be very much in favor of an accelerated, attempt at getting the math program improved, especially at the higher grades. What we originally wanted to comment about, though, is it's recognized that school climate and culture has a direct relation to higher academic scores. And Dr. Edmond, you had spoken a while ago about a program you knew about that could be utilized in the high school to help boost the climate and culture there to make it a little more positive, maybe help the academic scores that way. And did that make it into the budget?
Well, that was the Rutgers UMDNJ DSACs, Developing Safe and Civil Schools program. We're using I guess you'd call it a sister program now with the Character, what is that, Dan? Character.org, and what's the other?
Project Adventure.
The other, New Jersey
New Jersey Association of Social Emotional and Character Development.
Yes, New Jersey Association of Character.
New Jersey Association Social Emotional and Character Development. It's a mouthful.
That's a mouthful. I can never remember that one.
Faster?
So we looked, this came up, I guess it was early in the school year, maybe even late in the summer now, I'm thinking, and we were looking to have a survey administered in the fall with all of our children, all of our staff members, all of our parents, who are really use our services to see what we're doing well, what we're not doing well, where we can get better. And we did that survey probably in November. We got the baseline data right around the new year, I guess it was, or maybe even before the new year. So that was year one. That was our baseline data. It's not high, it's not low. It's the first year we've used this. So I've always found that if you're going to do a survey annually, it's best to use the same survey so you can measure growth year over year. So to switch surveys every year, you just couldn't measure. It wouldn't be a valid comparison. And the DSACs program was great. This program, to me, they're just as good. It's 6 in one hand, half dozen the other. But it was a collaborative process that we elected to use this program, and I'm confident it will have some positive results.
Mr.
Surveys. A couple of weeks ago, we asked for the breakdown of the survey by school and by
Glenn?
question. I haven't seen it yet.
Neither have I, but we need to move on a budget. I mean, there's just so many things we could talk about that distract us from our main focus here. Will you had a comment?
Pretty much my sentiment is I appreciate the ideals, but my understanding is we talk numbers to them because we have a lot of numbers to talk about. So,
Yep.
thank you.
Barbara, I know that there was some emails that were, can you just level set for us?
We
kind of
have
where-
microphones, we can't hear anything.
Can you just help level set for us kind of where we're at, just so that we kind of make sure we're all on the same page?
Okay. In March, when we presented the preliminary budget, we were at a 3.8% increase in the tax levy. Since that time, through some discussion, we've been able to trim out about another %, so we're down to about 2.7 right now. We're expecting a decrease in the health benefit costs. We won't have that exact number until the end of April, but we're anticipating at least a $300,000 decrease. So the 1% decrease in the tax levy since the preliminary budget incorporates a $300,000 adjustment to the line item for health benefits.
Will you have the final number before
No,
Our final
not before.
list.
I'm not anticipating having anything by April 25th. I did speak to our insurance broker yesterday. He is, the year just closed. They are waiting for, because they did market the plan, so they're waiting for responses from other carriers to see if there's any interest. There might be one carrier that's interested, but that has other issues that go along with it. So, but we do know that it won't be worse than the $300,000 that we expect to remove from the budget. And then there was some other adjustments that you and I spoke about. So we're down to 2.7%.
I think to make it easier, Barbara, could you give us a list of what you've cut from that from the initial budget book you handed us at 4.5% tax increase? What have you cut out of that budget?
The 3.8% is things that we trimmed out along the way. I can't tell you exactly what was changed from the original 4.5 to 3.8, but from that 3.8 on, I have to track every change, because every change that we make has to be sent down to the county office.
Well,
The county approved 3.8, so every change we make lower.
No, I understand that, but, we're going to sit here and try to trim this budget a little bit, and if we can't be told where you've taken money from to reduce it, I think we're down 2.7%, you said, about?
Yeah.
Then everything that we've earmarked for any type of further reduction, you might have already done already.
Jim,
Go ahead, Steve.
I may be able to answer that. Obviously, about every 500,000 is 1% reduction.
Understood.
So the percent that we got from 3.8 to 2.7 includes 300,000 on the health benefits. It includes 100,000 on, I believe, natural gas. I believe it includes some money on repair and maintenance account.
Right. Yeah, we talked about, well, I can tell you what Mr. Drew and I spoke about last week, along with the 300,000.
I was just wondering, excuse me, I know that at,
All right, I think I had my hand up about 5 minutes ago.
So did
excuse
I.
me. Just want to cut in. I think, and I'm sorry I had to do that, but it seemed like after about it started rolling around the room, it seemed like I wasn't getting any attention over here. I think the bottom line here is that if we were to try to vote on 2.7, I certainly wouldn't vote on an increase of 2.7. I think it's up, Barbara, we need your help to support, exactly what you could do for us. We need to bring it down. Just like what Jim had just said, we need to really understand for that 3.7 down to the 2.7 exactly what we're getting for that type of percentage of increase. Because I'm thinking this year the most, like 0.5. So.
Go ahead, Terry.
Barbara, when we originally did this budget, you had put in for 6 new buses. Did you cut any of those buses?
Yes, we did.
How many buses did you cut?
So, after much discussion, we removed the 6 54-passenger buses.
Okay.
What I did was, from the original budget that was presented with the 6 54-passenger buses, we took out $25,000. That's a lease purchase item, so those are financed over a 5-year period. So you're not going to be paying that $650,000 up front. So we took out, in the 3.8%, there was $25,000 removed for the lease purchase. Now,
Could you explain that? There was $125,000.
$125,000 when we removed
You
25.
removed only 25, so we're getting how many buses then?
So,
I have it
and
here,
I
Bob.
said that until we had a final, that was still fluid.
Right, the tentative
That
plan
was-
now is to buy 2 24-passenger vans, 1 minivan on lease purchase, and buy 1 truck for the shop, which would be a straight-up purchase. I think that's why.
So we would be.
Savings on is great.
We'd only be lease purchasing the buses, the 2 buses, and the truck. The minivan is paid out, that's purchased.
Knowing that we were going to have this meeting and these discussions, did you think that any of this was important to hand out so that we realize what you guys have done? I mean, we're going to sit here and try to work on this budget, and you're making changes, and you're not letting us know what changes you've made, what cuts you've made, where, who. I mean, it makes this meeting harder for us to do when you're not telling us what the heck is going on. I don't understand. We set this meeting up so that we can have this discussion, and we're not being told.
Honestly, if you're not in trying to make this an educational process for us where we're included and know what's happening, it's much easier for me to just say no.
Yeah,
It really is. So I have a second statement. Can we just go section by section, because there are things that kind of stand out that I'd like to know about.
I have a question. I thought we were required by law to cap our budget at 2%. Is that?
2%, but we bank 2 years, Barbara, back?
Right,
Correct.
because for 2 years, you only increased it 1%, so you had 3% bank.
Yep.
I'm just worried about the tax rate, because the town really socked it to the taxpayers with their budget, and I just don't want to do that to our people. I mean, we can save teaching positions, we can save programs. If we can restructure administration, I see that as a way of saving money. And there's got to be other things that we can cut without affecting our kids.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Will had his hand up first, but
So just for my understanding and the public's understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, within a 3-year window, we can essentially go up 6%. And that's,
But why would you do
that's
that to your
exactly what
people?
happens, right? So that's where we have these holes in the budget, is we didn't go up the entire 6%. I don't consider that a hole, I consider it austerity when
No,
we
that's
don't
not
go.
a hole in the budget.
That's how it's been explained.
No, the hole in the budget comes when you use the fund balance that Mrs. Swire was talking about, the 2.9 million. When you use that amount of money to fund your current expenses, which is your daily costs, that at the end of this budget year, if you don't have 2.9% again, then you're going to have a hole in your budget.
2.9 million.
So if at the end of June of 2017, the excess fund balance is $2 million instead of 2.9, then you have a $900,000 hole in the budget that in order to maintain the same thing that you have to come up with $900,000 additional that you didn't have.
So perhaps the same thing that we had was too much for what we can handle.
Go ahead, Glenn, and then I want to really.
Right,
move
well, I
on
was
to
just
this
going to
budget.
say that without any other guidance, I think Will's idea of going section by section is not a bad idea. That might be the most logical thing to start with, at least.
Just quickly, are you able at a high level even to help everyone understand where the biggest chunks of that increase, to say, it's covering these 3 buckets, so that we understand kind of where it is? Because I think some of it's out of our control a little bit. Some of it's capital improvements, things like that we have to, salaries, things like that.
Salaries, benefits, you have insurance costs for your general liability, and those things. We're changing carriers this year because at the end of our 3-year cycle. You have or a lot of the capital projects that are in here are being funded by the the excess fund balance, or the 2.9 million. A portion of that 2.9 million is funding the capital projects, and the reason for that is because when you've completed a capital project, you don't have to do it again next year. So if you don't have an excess amount, if you don't have 2.9 again, you're not looking for it to fund your everyday expenses. So that's the rationale of using your excess fund balance to finance capital projects that need to be done.
I real quick want to make a comment, Steve, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. Partly what I saw in this budget, we're as everybody knows, we voted on getting an LGEA done, and it's a local government energy audit. That paperwork was just submitted this past week. I think it was Thursday or Friday?
Last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday? Okay. We'll have an answer on that within 30 to 45 days. And that answer, that 30 days isn't calendar days, it's business days. So we're going to have an answer on that in either 6 weeks or 9 weeks, which brings us to the middle of May to the beginning of June. Not anywhere near enough time for us to have this included in the budget. Now, we've got a window project in the budget that can be done under this LGEA, which, by the way, we're not paying for. The state pays for that 100%. We can then do what's called an ESIP. It's an Energy Savings Improvement Plan. And we do that plan to upgrade things like lighting, windows, things that are going to save us energy. And we pay with our existing funding, so we don't have to tax the residents further. We got 1.4 million in this budget for projects that would go under the ESIP, and actually a little bit more, because there were some lighting upgrades that were. Well, we take that out of the equation.
Excuse me, Mr. Foodie, is that under operations?
That's in the business office, last page in the business office. And when we take that out, now it's 450 windows, 850 roof, almost 100,000 in architectural fees. That's $1.4 million. That's something that we can pay for with existing funding instead of having to raise taxes to do again and again and again. And I would much rather be paying for this with what we got than constantly going back to the watering hole and taking out more buckets of, in this case, cash, not water. But me personally, I think that is the smart and responsible thing for this board to do, because it frees up us having to ask the taxpayers for more money. There's things in this budget that we can take out, again, that don't affect any of the educational programs in this district. And that's kind of where we should be going. I know when you start adding these things up, pretty soon we're talking about real money. So, Steve, I'm gonna push it off to you. Is how you want to go by sections, or?
I mean, perfectly fine to go by sections. There are a couple of accounts that I think we should look at very specifically. So we'll do that, and then if you want to go by section, that's perfectly fine. To answer your question briefly, Ms. Riggs, one of the areas that we have a very large increase in spending over prior years is in special education. And that is partly because we have quite a few new kids in the district who have specific needs. And frankly, as much as you might like to spend less, we have
Microphone.
about that.
We can't hear you.
I'm sorry. One of the areas where we have a big increase over prior years is in funding for special education. That reflects the kids we've got in the district, and that's money we've got to spend, no matter how much we might want to spend less. So, we just can't do anything about that. So
some of the other big hit areas, employee benefits, and having the real number makes a huge difference. Is there any way you can pressure them to get a real number?
No.
So we just don't know. All right.
But as we spoke, 300,000 is definitely coming out.
Okay.
We have a number that it won't be higher than that.
Okay.
It may
That's
be
fine.
lower than that between now and June 30th, but we know it won't be higher than that. So we'll budget.
I would like
we'll set
to-
the budget for that increase.
Read or support Mr. Foody's assertion that we should not be budgeting for the items that are going to be covered in the LGBA. If we had done this a bit earlier, we would know exactly what the recommendations are. I would like to know exactly what the recommendations are before I budget a lot of money for that. When we get to the other end of that, which is unfortunately after the budget process, there are a number of options. Some of them may be partially state financed. Some of them will be funded out of future energy savings. I know, for example, there's a lease purchase option. And what I'd like to say is that where we're making capital improvements to capital, not teachers, not educational programs, not anything else, but buildings. Buildings have useful lives of 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And, you know, I have learned from the finance industry that when you are paying for long-term assets like that, you should do it with long-term liabilities. So asking us to pay for that completely out of 1 year's budget, making the taxpayers pay for it entirely right now, is poor financial management. We should put this all together, figure out how much it's going to be, and then look at our options. We may want to lease back, we may want to finance, we may want to bond if we've got other roofs or windows or whatever that come out of this. We should look at the totality of that. And as we saw last year with the roofs, a huge expenditure, you know, $8 million originally, and I think we came down off of that. But we financed that over the period in which we were going to use it so that we weren't smacking the taxpayers for it in a single year. Nobody does that. You get a mortgage for your home, you go buy a car, you get a loan to buy the car. If you fix your roof, you probably get a second or something. So anyhow, that's what I'm thinking we should do. We should get the totality of the capital project and pay for them over time when they'll be used.
Okay, great. Mr. Footy, may I be recognized?
Yes, Terry.
I don't understand why we didn't, well, I wasn't on the board at the time, but why the windows and the roofs for these schools in question were not combined in the bonding for the roof of the high school. Is there a way that we can, what's your opinion on doing another bond referendum for these items?
Just so that the board is aware, we can bond for these items under the ESIP with our existing funding. And we don't have to ask the taxpayers to do that because we're doing it with existing funding. And that's kind of the whole big key to this ESIP program. We got windows at Westbrook that need to be done. We got windows at UGL. We got windows at Maple Road. You know, we got the roof. That roof, I don't know why it wasn't included with the roofing, because we got $8 million in approval, and although it wasn't on that referendum, maybe we could have done something. I don't know. It would have been, would have had to go redo the question. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's all a good point. It was my understanding that immediately we would be taking that 1.4 off this budget for the roofs, the windows. We need to combine that and figure out how we're going to pay for it. Not saying that we don't need it. However, if we take the 1.4 off, right, that's 2.7 minus the 1.4. We're at least getting to a number, a reasonable number that the board would be more in tune to pass.
Well, you did have 2.7% and 1.3 million.
Yeah, okay, right, I'm sorry. I don't
You're
know
right
what-
there.
Yeah, what percentage would that be?
2.7% is how
Real
much?
close.
Right about there.
Right? To be real close to 2%? All right, now we're talking.
No, that's close to 3%. 1.5 million is about 3%. It's a
No,
little less.
Barbara, the 3.8%
She
is
was,
going to be 2
she
million.
indicated that she
How much
would
is
bring
the
it down
2.7?
2.7.
7% would be,
Was a reduction of 560,000. So,
Right there.
yeah. 2.7 was a reduction.
so we're about $1,450,000. We were at 3.8%, we were at 2,031,000.
431. And then if you take off the 560, you're at 2.4.
We're at 2.4 million. It can't be. Barbara,
He's talking about
the 3.8%.
No, I'm going to see that later.
Okay.
Sorry.
When you're looking at numbers, it's already on.
A lot of pressure.
Percentage in a
I'm looking
million.
at the budget of fund balance.
Oh, geez.
It's-
Doing arithmetic in a crowd is prone to error.
You took about 560 off, you said,
60,000.
right? To down and bring it down.
1.4. 1.474974.
Percent?
1.474 million
Okay.
is what we'd be raising taxes now. Taking
It's about
just,
3%.
yeah, it's
2.7.
2.7. We take off
Nervous.
what we could do under an LGEA, okay?
So the capital projects we're talking about,
Would be the roof, the windows, UGL, the architectural fees with that. Now, Barbara, it's my understanding too that you took out the paving at the transportation garage. Did you also take out the $3,200 for the line striping? Okay. So if we take out just those two items, actually three because of the architectural fees, we're at $1,395,000. What do we're...
Jim, are you saying to put-
We're $50,000-$60,000 away from making it flat. Now, if you go to operations,
How much away are we?
like
65?
60,000, something like that about. 30,000, I'm going to have to give you
Do we have the figures on the funding that we're getting in?
we have state aid.
Are we down?
We're flat, state aid.
Do you have the ESA funding, the federal?
No.
It's probably going to be flat, I would
State
guess.
aid. State aid.
I think we're talking about state aid.
Right.
Our federal funding, we believe, is going to be down. We were told the budget for a 15% cut.
Oh,
The federal government never spends less money.
Always, every year.
Our numbers go down every year.
Every
It
year.
may not go down by 15%, maybe it goes down by 12%, but they advise us to budget for a 15% cut.
Who?
The federal government, through the state.
I'm gonna go, Steve, looking at our auditor's report, go back at 2007, 1.4 million, 2008, 1.6 million in state aid, almost 0.7. 2009, almost 1.5. 2010, we had 3.8. 2011, 2.4. 2012, almost 2.2. 2013, 1.6. And then for the past 3 years, from 14, 15, and 16, we're just a little over 1.5 million for each of those 3 years. So although we've gone down, when you look at the couple of high years that we had, we stayed pretty flat for the past 3 years. We
Wouldn't
haven't.
we expect that to go up when we give them the actual number of special education children?
No, that's two different things.
That's extraordinary aid.
That's a state source.
is that?
Yeah, but would that not go up?
That has,
Not necessarily, no.
that's gone down. It's gone down significantly.
Has it gone down
Okay.
because We have a decrease in enrollment. Does that have anything to do with it or no?
It's gone down for a couple of reasons.
Bringing students back, but also they're funding a smaller percentage of your eligible costs. 6 years ago, they were funding 85% of your eligible costs, and now they're about 63%.
Now, real quick, and then Nicole, I'll give it to you. Our extraordinary aid, going back and looking back at our board secretary's reports for the past 4 years. 13-14, 14-15, and the 15-16 school years, it was $750,000.
That's what I budgeted.
Yep. This last year, it was in there, $850,000. So although we might be losing state aid, the numbers aren't telling me that. So, you know, there's some things that we can do here. We've got some light fixtures at Maple Road. There's $22,000. Again, this would all be done under an ESIP because that is one of the things that we were told would be our biggest payback, would be going and replacing our lighting and doing LED lighting. We actually have money in the budget for Aptua for new fixtures to accommodate new LED lighting we were trying out down there. But we were told, if you remember, we get paid back in any lighting projects, we're paid back in like 6 months. That helps offset the windows and other projects that take a longer period of time. So, you know, there's 22,000 that we can, an additional 22,000 that we can pull from the budget. There's a couple of incidental items, and then we'll be at a flat increase. And again, we haven't affected anything to do with any of the children. It's the smart. You budget that way at home, and we should budget just like that here. You know, we're the stewards of the taxpayers in the community. We have to be that way. I did say, Steve, that I would let Nicole speak before you had your hand up, so.
I'll be quick, I think. I just I'm in trouble with that sign tonight. I just want to clarify, because I know we talked about that ESIP before, and it's a little new to me, so I may not fully understand. There was some concern about that. Like, do we not find out what that funding is until after the fact, so it's not guaranteed? I think, you know, I certainly appreciate that this is a good area to cut, and I think it could make sense. I think two things is I just want to understand, what if we don't get that, or if that's not something we end up being able to use, what is the current condition, like how urgent are these things, and are we just putting off something that could be done later, or just putting off something that is eventually going to need to be done sooner than later because it's deteriorating so poorly? I mean, I think it's a spend smart situation, right? You have to make sure that the buildings, obviously, while not adding value directly as education, affect the children and the environment that they're sitting in and things like that. So I think it's a great area to look at, but I just want to make sure that I understand.
The roof was, Steve, and you remember, the roof was thrown at us at the last minute. It wasn't in our list of things. And to Rodney and Bill, what they've been talking about for a year now, give us a list of all the projects that we are going to need to do. And although we got a list, it's not the list that we should have. We should have a 10-year plan, and when we get through the first year, then we add on to that another year is what we see coming down the pike. But we need to get things in order. Go ahead, Steve.
That was exactly what I was going to talk about before you even asked the question. One of the critical questions here is if we don't do that in the budget,
Bring it closer to you.
if we don't do this in the budget, are we just kicking the can down the road and we still have to do this at some point? Because that isn't good either. And the answer, I think, is that I want to find out what the totality of the list is that has some impact on energy. And at that point, we have several methods of financing. I'm not advocating that we just put it off and leave it for a future board. I think let's find out what the list is with this audit, and then we can look at, there are many ways we could do it. We could do a bond. Worst case is we take the whole thing on ourselves and we do it as a bond, which makes more sense than paying for all of it in 1 year. We could also do a lease purchase where you know, it's one of the options that they talked about. It would behave more like a bond, where we would be paying for it over time. Frankly, out of the energy savings. So it probably wouldn't even cost us more. Or we can do it purely as part of the ESIP program where we get some funding for some of that, and again, we're paying for it out of the energy savings. So what I'm saying is, we have a choice where we can just give a bill to the taxpayers right now to pay the whole thing, or we can take our time, look at the whole project, and then fund it in an appropriate way that doesn't smack the taxpayers this year for it. So I think it's just absolutely a no-brainer. We're not saying kick the can down the road. No, we have to make repairs to our schools and do the things that we need to provide a safe, warm environment for our children. And we're not saying that we're going to do it that way. We're just going to get the whole list together, and I'm sorry we don't have it now, but get the whole list together, and then we have a variety of options about how to finance that make more sense to the taxpayers, and we will still get the work done. So that really is. Now here's the question. Is this the kind of thing that we could vote on here, or we just wait for the next?
From what I understand, and when I spoke to Joe, although we're not voting on the budget this evening, that final vote on the budget comes on April 25th. We can direct the administration to make these cuts so that when we come to that budget meeting and vote on April 25th, that they'll have already made the adjustments, pulling out these,
So do we need to take a vote to direct those particular cuts?
So we can make a motion to pull those items from the budget and direct the administration to do so for the budget meeting on April 25th.
Should we discuss all of these things first and then make a motion? Would that be?
Summary of items. Don't they just direct us to do it? They don't.
No, we'd have to vote on it to direct, correct?
I don't think so.
No,
No.
I'm going to say
Okay.
vote. We do it.
No, it's not a formal vote, you're telling them to do it.
Okay.
That you're going to
Yeah,
do
but
it
yeah,
by a formal,
Okay, but don't we need to have a majority in order to tell them?
All in favor?
To do that, or we have to do a voice vote,
Straw poll.
or straw poll? Straw poll? Okay. Well, before we jump to that, Barbara, the exact dollar figure before you said was $1 million what?
With the 560,000 that we took out?
Yeah. It's $1,470,000, something like that?
$1,475,974.
474,974.
This number again?
$1,474,974.
Thank you.
Now, if you take out the $1,395,000, we're down to $79,974 as a tax increase. Now, if you take out the $22,000 for the Maple Road lighting upgrades, you're at $57,735.
So did you make a straw motion?
Well, I don't know whether we need to proceed with, I've got a couple of additional accounts where I have no fear that we can cut the account without affecting education or affecting our ability to pay our bills.
I'm gonna, there's one under education. I believe it was education, might have been personnel. Let me look at my notes real quick. It was under personnel. It was on page 8. There was an additional 15,000. It was a merit incentive.
That shouldn't be there.
It was never discussed. We can.
This was discussed in the personnel committee.
I don't know what it is.
I do not remember, I do not remember that at all.
I remember saying it shouldn't be there.
It was discussing personnel. It was not really, there was no decision made, but it was discussed.
Now, we can't actually allocate that money without a vote of the board when we get there, is that right?
What do you mean?
So the amount of money in there would not be spent unless the board specifically approved it, is that correct?
Yes, correct, at the
So,
25th.
personally, I have no problem leaving it in there and then deciding when we get there whether we've,
What, the 15,000?
Isn't this but isn't the point to kind of
Let's, the whole point here is to discuss the budget and make some adjustments where we can. Because at this point, Steve, you take out that 15, we're at $42,700.
okay, then let me discuss the other accounts which have more impact than 15,000.
But if we get to a 0% increase, I mean, that's ultimately the goal. Wouldn't
All
you
right.
agree?
Yes, we had originally discussed, Barbara, removing 100,000 from the budgeted amount for natural gas.
Right.
But I am showing that that is still as much as 125 more than would be reasonable to expect to pay for natural gas if we had normal inflation. Now, I think you can take any account and say, well, but it might be more. You know, yes, it might be more. I don't see anything on the financial markets that indicates that the Russians and the Saudis are any less likely to continue to try to pump natural gas into the world market. In addition, the U.S., we're starting to frack again. So I think, if anything, the pressure on natural gas prices will be downward, not upward. I would say, oh, well, you got to leave some slack just in case, so on and so forth. And as we discussed before, as I go through this entire budget, the way it was submitted originally, I believe we have 3.2 million excess. So even though if we wound up and we missed on that account by a little bit, there are a whole bunch of other accounts where we might be 5,000 or 10,000 or something like that aren't worth discussing in this group or anything like that. So being more aggressive about, in particular, natural gas, oil, and I think the electricity, I don't feel bad about that, because I think, all appearances, the producers of those commodities are just falling all over themselves to produce more. So there's some possibility that prices, I mean, good grief, now we're going to start digging more coal. And whether we, burn coal in West Milford or not, the United States will be doing that. And it's a complementary replacement good for natural gas and oil. I just see nothing but downward pressure on those prices. The last thing in the world, I think, is that we ought to assume a 30 or 40% increase in those prices. And even if that happened, there's other slack in this budget. So the actual amount, I'd like to come down another 100,000 on the natural gas account.
Sorry.
The oil account, which is, 717,000. I think that we can come down 50,000 on that.
We took out 25, that was part of the 560.
Yeah. Okay.
oil?
Yeah.
Didn't you say 120,000 natural gas before?
So you
said 100.
want,
I believe actually that the natural gas account that we got in the original budget was 225,000 high. Barbara agreed to come 100,000 off of that. I think we got another 125,000, and that would get us to what I think will be still more than we'll pay on natural gas. But I don't feel in any way bad about coming in with a number that in total
Not worried about it.
is 225,000 less than what we budgeted.
yeah, we should budget at $175,000 more for natural gas in the operations section of the budget. Well, all I know, Steve, is I've looked at this, and I know we're both trying to do the same thing here. So you took off 100, so you're down to, instead
But I'm
of,
saying I want 200 out of that. And then there's a repair and maintenance account, 717-400, that,
which line is that, and what
golly,
section?
I don't know, I just don't see it. I don't know where it is in the book. Barbara probably knows. It's account 11-000-2614-201-717-400.
Is this in the operations part of the budget?
Probably.
261 what?
261-420-17-400.
Yeah, that's the repair maintenance.
So we
On
budgeted
page,
327,000. In 2016, we only spent 180. In 2017, it looks like we're going to spend a similar amount, 200,000. So we're probably 130,000 over on
yep.
that. So between the energy and the repair and maintenance account, I'm seeing
Yeah, I mean,
250,000, so we
if-
don't even have to argue about 15,000 here, or 5,000 for copier, or whatever.
So repair and
So
maintenance,
it
you
sounded
want me to
support
remove
for a
100,000?
0% tax increase, why don't we just,
Yep.
if the board would like to see a 0% tax levy increase, you can direct Barbara and I to
I'm
do
not
that
comfortable
now.
with that.
What's that?
I'm not comfortable with that.
With zero?
A zero?
No, I'm not comfortable with just getting a zero back to us. Because there's so many items here to discuss. I'm afraid of not where it's gonna come from, but in a sense, I am afraid of where it's gonna come from.
Well, we don't want it to come
you're
from
saying that
education or teachers.
Can't come from
You're saying
staff.
that
or
you're
other
saying
teachers.
the board,
Right.
you're
But
saying
you'll
the
get to
board
zero.
should have
Input into where the money gets allocated.
Usually.
If we take out,
Steve
if we
just
take
did.
out the $1,395,000,
Hmm?
which is for the windows, the
Correct.
roof, and the architectural fees, that leaves us with $79,000, $79,974 to get down to that 0% increase.
79,000 is about 0.16, 0.7,
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, but if you take out, again, Alex, we got lighting upgrades at Maple Road,
Then you're down,
22,000, then you're down to 57,000.
that's 0.1,
You're
0.1.
you're down to 57,000. I mean, it's a little 0.1, maybe 0.12, whatever it is. But we can, there's plenty of spaces. I look at the merit incentive. I look at, and I'd asked Barbara earlier when she had supplied me with the fuel that we bought, and I had asked her if that was for all of the district vehicles, maintenance, buses, and she had said yes, but then I found another 15,000 in the operations budget for fuel. So when you begin to take out these items,
You're in the negative.
now, if you go merit incentives, the sidewalks that I see, and that 15,500 in operations, you're negative about $3,200.
What sidewalks, the ones at Ashland School?
Yeah, but you've got in there, let me get to that section of the budget real quick, Barbara. I believe that was in the business. It might have been in operations, but. Let me check, I think it was operations.
Under repairs and maintenance.
Operations, last page, page 8 of 8.
No, it's page, I think, 3 of 8.
Actual school.
It was, was that under operations?
Yeah, that's page 8 of 8.
Page 8 of 8. What I saw in there was,
$46,140.
correct, and you have in here demolition, removal, and replacement of 100 feet by 7 feet of sidewalk at $15,380, quantity 3.
There's 3 sections.
Okay, because I mean, it would have been easier for me to understand that if you were just 300 feet by 7 and done. Okay, so that could stay, and then if we need to do that stay in. We can get down to 0 and be safe that we're not affecting any of the kids.
This still doesn't take into account the fact that I bet you we're going to kick the can down the road and not do anything about Hillcrest, and we're going to be paying for Hillcrest.
Let's not talk about Hillcrest yet. Let's get through this.
Actually, that's on for discussion as part of the second half of this, so
I'm excited.
we'll get to that.
We're not.
That's not the word I would use.
All right, so in a nutshell, direct the straw vote to direct the administration to get to a 0% tax increase.
Do you want to make it like a 0 to 1%?
What?
Like, I'm just worried about, keeping the curriculums in place.
We're not affecting anything.
I think we have to outline what we're talking, what items we're looking. I think we can't just I think we should outline the big ticket 3 or 4 items that we talked about so that we're not leaving it up to chance.
When you take out just those 3 items, you're at $1,395,000. We're at $79,000. You take out the lighting for Maple Road, we're down to $57,000. If you do that merit incentive, you're down to 42. So they can take 42
What if
or
we don't agree with that, though?
what's that?
That merit, the 15?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that. So I don't-
Neither do I.
Right, so I'm saying, like, why would we just yank that without really everybody talking about it? I think so. I don't want to leave those pieces to chance without us just talking about it, without discussion. I don't think that's fair.
It was put in the budget. I don't ever remember discussing it in personnel, and Terry doesn't either. And
Debbie's not here. So.
Debbie's not here. She would know too.
We have personnel tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
We'll discuss it then.
In greater detail tomorrow night.
But we're down, if we do the roof, the windows, and the lighting at Maple Road, we're down to $57,735. Steve?
Please do something about the natural gas and the electricity account. I think that we can reduce another 100,000. No risk.
I mean, I look at another $15,000 in fuel costs, and you're down to 42. And I mean, there's so many places that we could trim 42,000 that doesn't affect anything that has anything to do with education.
Well, to Terry's point, I mean, I
Take it out of
agree
the
with you
superintendent's
completely. I don't
budget.
want the cuts to come out of educational programs or teacher salaries or anything like that. So I'm saying if we specify these non-personnel, non-educational accounts,
Then I would absolutely.
then, I'm completely for a 0%. But
Then
frankly, in my
I would
adding this
support
up, you can get below that.
All right, so then, from the roof, windows, and the lights, and the architectural fees, any additional cuts that don't affect personnel or education?
And the natural gas, and
I don't know about
what else?
personnel.
Well, that's the natural
And the
gas,
oil.
Barbara, you said you'd already taken that out, correct?
No,
Well,
she only took part of it
Oh,
out.
Steve wants more.
There's room for another 125 out of natural gas and 50 out of oil, Steve
Well,
said.
hell, I say hold the line with that one.
Well, Jim, I'm happy we get down.
That gets us to
Well,
zero
to
without
zero.
affecting education in any way, which is, I'm
Just making
100%
this
agree.
sweat.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm 100% agree
Yeah,
with it.
I'd like to hear what else Will has on his list, because I'd still like to see a certain position put into the budget.
I think it's everyone.
You're talking about cuts. How
Actually-
could you add?
Actually,
We're just cutting out extra at this point.
we gave Alex the opportunity to think about it for a couple of weeks. And he was going to get back to us, and that was supposed to be tonight. Have you had any
Is it tonight
chance?
already?
Yes, it is. Have you had any chance to, I know you sent Glenn an email with some,
I just want to make sure we're
Positions.
all on the same page. We're all what we're debating is the same. So, you know, when you say HR position, you're talking about an administrative position. Almost like in some districts, they call it an assistant superintendent for personnel or assistant
We have a director of
director of
education.
personnel, something along those lines. So the price tag usually associated with that position, salaries, you know, 125, benefits, another 25, so ballpark, $150,000, just a ballpark number.
yeah, with
A
the,
little bit lower, a little bit higher, you know, whatever. That's a good ballpark. Are we talking about this in addition to our existing staff, or in lieu of? I think that's, I understood it to be in addition to.
yeah.
That's
Well,
what
I don't believe we have anybody performing that function yet.
I mean,
No, we
to
don't.
our additional, to our
We
existing
do
staff.
have-
It would be in addition to our existing staff. Correct.
That's my understanding.
Excuse me, can I just say something?
Go ahead.
We have a director of education, we have a superintendent, we have a director of special services, we have a business administrator, we have people in the board office who handle benefits, payroll.
Terry? I know
We
where
have
you're
people,
going.
I know,
where you're
but
going.
I'm furious about this. I'm not voting for it.
Well, we'll, just for giggles, we'll talk about it again tomorrow night. Because we're
Yeah.
have personnel tomorrow night, we'll just talk
I'm
about it.
bringing
real quick.
earplugs.
You bringing earplugs? Okay, go ahead.
I've had
You're
it.
allowed, you're allowed.
I mean, the trend over the last, we'll say, about 7 or 8 years for school districts is flat state, or declining or flat state aid, declining for the most part, federal aid, except for that 1 year of the stimulus boost. A lot of pressure on local taxes just because your other sources of funding have dried up. That's sort of across the board. So districts across the state have been trimming administrative positions just to not affect the grade 3 position or the grade 4 position at various schools, because those probably affect children more directly than a personnel administrator would. So there's not a district in the state that couldn't use administrative help right now. Over the same, I think I said 8-year period, the workload has gone up. So the number of administrators in any district has gone down, but there's now additional reports that get filed every year. The state asks us to do, you know, this many more reports, you know, without taking away the old ones, they just keep adding. So the workload has gone up, the people doing the work has gone down. So there's not a district in the state that wouldn't benefit from additional administrative help, West Milford included. My concern is, and especially now that we're going to be, it looks like we're going to be at a 0% tax increase, is funding this position in the long term is going to prove to be very difficult without raising our revenues, our local revenues, which are taxes. And when you put your fund balance, which I think we're going to do, we're going to put our fund balance to support our budget, there could be a rather gaping hole that we're discussing this time next year for the 18-19 budget. So it would help us. Can we afford it? If we raise taxes, we can. We put revenues in the budget, we can. If we're willing to do that long-term, we can. But if we're not willing to do that, we can't. And it's really a question for the board, because it would help the district. However, we need money to pay this person. And the worst thing to do would be to fund it in this year's budget, and then the bill for these last 2 0% tax increases is going to come due 12 months from now. Bet it. And if there's no money to support the position next year, what you've done is hire a human resources expert for 1 year, and it's going to be tough for anybody to make a positive effect in one school year. It really would be. So that's a question for the board to consider. So please consider.
Will had his hand up first.
I don't necessarily see it that way. But I'd like to direct everybody's attention to Education Office, page 1.
Well, before, Will?
Yes.
Hold up. I'd like to do 2 things first. delay executive session for another 15 minutes. Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And two, I'd like to vote real quick on getting down a 0% tax increase. We can further the conversation, but is the board then in favor of going 0 without, pulling those main items, the lighting projects, the roof, the windows, architectural fees, and directing the administration to make the
Cuts in the energy.
cuts in, well, she anywhere where it doesn't affect personnel or education of the kids.
But specifically, the energy teams have a lot of slush.
I'll give her the leeway on that 57,000.
No, it's 125 in gas and 50,000.
No, Glenn, you're not understanding.
No,
We're at $1,474,000. When you take out those items, we're down to 57,000.
Oh, right.
That she has additional to get to the 0. So she can take that from wherever she feels like, as long as it doesn't affect personnel, it doesn't affect education of the kids.
Well, essentially, if you add
So-
those two things in there,
No, I know,
then hold on a second, let me finish my sentence. If you add those two things in there, you're almost up to $150,000 that you would need for HR.
And we'll go ahead, Steve.
Well, I think you guys should discuss that in personnel. And that's what you want to
Absolutely.
Yep,
come back.
and we will.
The other thing that I really want to hear the next time we discuss this is something about what it would cost us to put in a math program for next year. At least do a bit of research. It doesn't mean that we're going to do it, but please do some research on that, because you know what? I'll be more than happy to spend the money on math improvement at West Milford, even if it requires a tax increase, if we actually get math improvement. So can we please look at it?
Well, we are going to look at it, and it's a very important matter. It's not something I want to rush into, and
Yeah.
we're off next week. We come back, we're right for the next board meeting. This is something we're going to have to really get a committee of educators together to discuss what we like about our current math program, what we don't like, where we'd like to improve, what are other districts doing. This is a fairly extensive process, and of course, all the while we're doing this, teachers are in their classroom every day teaching their children, and we're heading into...
Not next week.
No, I heard that he's going to do it next week and have the answer for us on the 18th.
So it's a little more lengthy process, so this is not something that can be done rushed, and I think if we did it in a rush, we'd be doing ourselves, our children, our parents, our teachers a disservice just to rush into something on a knee-jerk. There's definitely, I'd like to look into it, but I'd like to do it the right way. I don't want to just jump in and rush into it and throw out a number.
Can we discuss this privately? Maybe I'll spend some of my time on it, and
I think it's perfect for Ed committee at some point. Yeah.
Well, I'll discuss it in Ed committee tomorrow also, but we've done a lot of that work already. When I began last year, we started talking about the current Go Math program. It's been in place for a number of years. Reasonable cycle is about 5 years for a curriculum program. Working with the math supervisor, we've talked about looking at how we phase out that program or keep that program depending on what we see. We know what the programs are that are out there. They're Math and Focus, they're Singapore Math, and they're Envisions. You talk to the top 25, that's what they're using. So we've talked about different processes for implementing curriculum rather than a last time we had a windfall in money for whatever, I don't use the word windfall, but I did. Where we purchased a K-5 program all at once, and we saw some of the growing pains of removing a program, replacing a program in 1 year. So we're working to take a look at the long term. I talk a lot about terms of a 5-year plan. Part of our 5-year plan is also looking at the program and what can we train our kindergarten teachers for that we can implement in kindergarten that we can then follow through cohort as they go. So it begins with talking about kindergarten and what sort of math program we're looking for to go forward. If our current program is the right one, that's the one that we're gonna go with. But that's the work that we're in the process of getting going. So reviewing that long-term goal really begins with that phasing in. So we know what the programs are that are out there. We've done that work.
Do either of you mind if I have a discussion this week with Mr. Novak about this? Because I tell you right now,
We have educated
Go
tomorrow.
Math is not improving math performance in West Milford.
We're all on the same
We have that
page.
committee tomorrow. We can talk about it.
Yeah, and while you're talking about a long-term plan for math, which is you absolutely have to do, and that's the right way to do it, you also have to come up with a short-term plan as well to help the students that are already in the program that we've got, that's not working that well, and helping them, because there's a lot of kids that are struggling. I mean, I know some students that started out as honor roll, the high-level students, and got into the math program at higher grades and went right off the cliff. So there's something that's dysfunctional, it's not quite working. And we need to think of a short-term plan to help those students and get them ready for college or jobs or whatever it may be. Because I'm hearing from the community that some of our students come out of the high school and they can't work a cash register and do basic arithmetic for making change, things like that. So we need to do a short-term plan along with the long-term plan, please.
That is Education Committee. Please.
Yeah.
So we'll discuss that.
Discuss that next
Now,
week.
I'm just saying, I really would like to hear something about math before we vote on a final budget. If we can't do it, that's fine, but let's not drop it.
All right,
It's not going to be a problem.
real quick then, so we're all show of hands in favor of the 0%. Okay? All right? Well, we have to go into executive session, but I want to give you your time at the mic, so
Okay.
let her rip.
Thank you. So, directing everybody's attention to Education Office section, page 1, and the line is Purchase Tech Services Health. So, 2014, the orders around $8,000. 2015, $9,500.
What page, Will?
This is page 1 of 3 under Education Office. So 2014 orders, $8,100. 2015, $9,450. Budgeted in 2016, $38,340.
None of us see what you're looking at.
That's okay. I have 2 books in front of me. I'll get to our current budget.
Oh, you're,
I'm making a point
You're looking at
with
the
this
old budget.
in entirety.
Okay.
Everybody on that line?
I don't see it in page 1.
It is the 3rd line on page 1.
I see it in the new budget. but not
purchase
quite.
technical
Yeah,
services.
I have another budget book too,
But
but
it
this
says
leads to greater.
2015, 9,000.
Okay.
I have a second book.
I see where you're going with this, because I got it marked in mine as well.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I have an older book, 2014, 8,100. 2015, 9,450 was spent. Budgeted in 2016, $38,345. We got the grand total back, and that came to $10,570. It's a lot of money that wasn't spent, and that's the point I'm trying to make. So with that simple arithmetic, we could probably knock that number down with the current future budget of $32,710.
Cut it in half.
Probably in half.
Yep,
Easy.
that's what I've got.
And there's plenty of other items like that.
You could go down 4 lines. 2,600 and 22, 2,576, 12,790, and then we're back down to 6,000. So there's numerous.
I have to say something.
Go ahead, Terry.
These lines that you're talking about are medical substance screenings, employees, students, AAA on-site, drug testing renewal, independent psychiatric evaluations. These are things that we have no control over. These are things that are, I mean, when you have a student who has a problem and they sent him out for a psychiatric evaluation, we're required to pay for that.
Oh, no, Terry, I
What?
don't think that's, he's looking at the historical record of what.
No, but I would like,
Yeah, but-
Budget.
if you don't mind me just commenting on that.
Go ahead.
So I understand that account is under the education office. However, Mr. Novak and I work closely with that account as I oversee the nursing department as well as the independent psychiatric evaluations that are, taken from there. So if you look at last year, yes, I agree with you that there was money that remained. But when we looked on the special services side, it's not accurate to only look at this item without comparing it to the independent psychiatric evaluations that we do on the special education side or for general education students, because we sometimes have to transfer money between the two accounts as things fluctuate throughout the year. So what I would say to you is in the next few weeks, the board will see a transfer request that is going to come my way to you due to the fact that now my other account in the special services side is now at zero, and now I need to borrow from this account about $8,000 because we are short for general education students, because you cannot predict what the needs are going to be for students year to year. And when we projected that, we noticed that there was a trend of students that were general education that needed these types of evaluations that the district is responsible for doing. And that's why we budget for it under education on the general education side, but we kind of share the services with that. So I don't want you to think that that money is just, predicted in a way that was not justified or data based in our decision to increase that amount. And you'll see that in a transfer that's coming down in a few weeks.
So wouldn't it simply be easier to fund the other account?
Pardon?
Wouldn't it be easier to fund the other account?
I believe that the reason why we have it in this account, and where you can explain it further to me, but I believe it was in this account because it is like considered a purchase health service for general education students versus most of the accounts that are on my side are for the special education students, and can be a part of like an INRS process to me, but I think it's just an accounting thing. But we have, if you look at the historical part, we have transferred money in between, usually in the later part of the year as we need things. So towards the end of the year.
So the money actually could stay in the special educational.
I mean, you could, in theory, like basically what I'm saying is that it's not going to be a savings to the board, because if you don't put the money here, you're going to have to put it in my accounts, on the special education page.
Then do it.
So I mean, I guess
I don't think she always knows where it's going to fall. I
The services might
think
be for
that's the
rich general
challenge.
ed students.
Right.
So, you can't make your budget line so tight that you have no flexibility. Because quite honestly, you don't know what's going to happen 14 months from now or 16 months from now. So I think it's unfortunate that you seem to think that, we're going to be able to stay within the confines of that budget.
I tell you,
I'd have to have
at
some
least 3 years
flexibility.
back, that it's not being used in the general education funding. It's being used in special education, if this is the case.
What we've done over the last few years is we've added account numbers so that we could try to delineate where the services are being performed. At one time, because we had a smaller population that was using these services, they were all part of the education department. Then, when Dr. McQuaid came on, we started to accounting process, so that this way when decides after our audit is completed and we get our certified tuitions, the tuitions are and per pupil. And what your per pupil costs are for your different grade levels. So they use the accounts that we charge things to in order to determine those numbers. So we've been trying to clean up that process.
I think in some ways you can't bite your nose to spite your face, right? You have to, and these are not huge dollars, and I think you have to trust the administration a little bit to know that, you can't predict every single thing, and I think, we have to have some faith that there could be the year that you use a little more and use a little less, but that has to be there. I mean, that's just good budgeting. It's not, I don't think it's wasteful. I think it's smart in some ways.
$1,000 is not a sneezing number.
I think when you take out the actual, it's not quite that much, but, and she's saying she's going to need some of it into her other budget, so when you take that out of the equation, it's not that much, it's not that much extra.
There's other places within here to transfer from too. This isn't just an example of an account.
And it could be that if there's a little excess there, that, maybe there was somewhere else that we went slightly over, and so it balances out a
There
little
was
bit.
$2.9 million of excess, so where did that come from?
That's not excess, that's
surplus.
A little here, a little there.
The $2.9 million that was designated in the audit. My mic is on.
I can't hear you. Move closer, maybe.
The $2.9 Can you hear me now? Okay, the $2.9 million, a bit of it was the health benefits because we had underestimated the amount of employee contribution that we were going to receive in the fourth tier of the employee benefit contribution year. So just to recall, we had a 4-year phase-in, and when we got to the fourth year, a number of people started to waive their benefits because their contribution became so high. So we had extra money left in our employee benefits account because on the average, it's about $25,000 a person. So if you have an extra 10 people waiving their benefits, you're picking up approximately $225,000, $250,000, depending on what their salary is and what their employee benefit contribution would have been. So there's a lot of variables that we have no way of predicting 18 months out, even 14 months out. Even, it might happen in September because they have a life event that they could either waive, or now all of a sudden we have to start picking up the costs, and they never had benefits last year. So there's so much give and take in the budgeting process that you can't cut your numbers that closely. That was only one area. We also had a significant amount of money left in transportation last year, probably close to $1 million. And this year we cut about $230,000 out in salaries, plus
fuel costs too, and fuel costs as well. You cut the.
But not in transportation.
Yeah, but you cut the number of what we were paying last year compared to what we were paying this year for fuel.
Yeah, but that's in the operations account, not in the fuel, not in the.
No, that was in transportation.
Transportation, I think we still have the same amount. We're budgeting $2 a gallon.
Yeah,
Right.
but
But
you
from
were
the
budgeting
previous year, it was
something.
$3.
Yep.
Yeah, because the costs were high, and now we're down to about $2 a gallon on our gas. So there's so many variables, but there were those two areas contributed greatly to the $2.9 million in fund balance that, excess fund balance that the district had.
That didn't even explain half of it, though. I believe that having a surplus is healthy, absolutely, but you only explained 1.3 million according to what I was listening to. Approximately.
No, it was close to $2 million right there between
Is that $1 million
transportation
in
and health
benefits.
in the health benefits.
No,
right?
there was about $1 million in health benefits and
I
about
didn't
$1
hear that
million.
number.
I gave an example of about $250,000, but I said those were the two areas that we had large remainders or variables from the original budget, and it was because, in large part, from the health benefit contributions. This year, in the future budgets, 17-18, we're budgeting $2.8 million in health benefit contributions to offset our eventual costs. That's pretty close to what we're anticipating that we're going to get. So there should be very, very little difference. And if you look at the $300,000 that we had talked about earlier, there's really not the increase in health benefit contributions for 17-18 is minimal, if not flat. So you could only do so much. You don't want to leave yourself short, because if you end up in a deficit situation, it's not going to be pretty. And one other thing, you also need to make sure that the revenues that you're using to support this budget come through. Because if you budget $1 million in expenses and you budget $1 million in revenues, and you spend your $1 million, but you only get $800,000 in revenues, you have a $200,000 deficit. So there's two sides that you have to look at. Your expenses, yes, but you also have to make sure that you have the revenues to support those expenses.
So can we hold another vote to, when they come up with the 0% budget, that we get the list of what they cut? Because
No,
when I
no,
think government
She
spends,
automatically does that.
She'll automatically.
We shouldn't have.
I didn't know a couple of the items that were happening, and I'm on the budget committee. So.
Well, as I
I
had
can put
said
that in the
earlier-
PowerPoint for the public hearing.
As I had said
Can we have a
earlier,
copy of it
I
before
have
the
to
meeting?
track it. Everything has to be tracked. From the time of the preliminary budget, every decrease has to be tracked or increase.
Yeah, why didn't we
Every
get-
line item.
Why didn't we get any information before this?
Because
We haven't had a budget and
we
finance meeting
haven't,
since.
not only that
Then,
is,
but you tracked it, so it should be boom right there. It should be in any document, Excel. Boy, I'd love to have an Excel document of this budget.
Steve got it. Don't you have an Excel?
Because knowledge is power.
Spreadsheet.
Of the original. I have one also.
No, but I take Will's point in illustration completely, is that if we need money, there is money in the budget to be had by trimming a little here and a little there where there's excess that won't harm us. And I think that was Will's main point, and I think it's absolutely true.
So do we have an answer on the HR position then?
We're going to discuss that tomorrow.
Okay.
And we can bring it up for discussion again before we got 2 meetings, a workshop and the next budget.
Well, we have to advertise
But
the
if we're
budget.
gonna- if we're going to vote on that, we have
It's
to,
already been advertised.
I mean, no, the actual budget has to be in the newspaper.
the advertised budget is what the county approved. No changes. The advertised budget is what the county office approved on March 16th.
And what we approve is whatever changes we might make.
Right, and whatever gets approved on the 25th is what gets submitted to the county with the spreadsheet showing the changes from the original approval.
Yes.
so we would have to vote on something like that. Any changes that would affect the budget before the 25th.
Parliamentary. May I be
On the
recognized,
25th.
Mr. Foodie? Thank you. I was under the impression, and perhaps I'm wrong, but at a previous meeting, when the HR position was voted upon, it was voted no. Why are we bringing it up again? Because certain people want their way? I have a problem with that. Thank you.
At that meeting, if I may, that meeting, 2 of the people said they weren't sure because they hadn't thought about it ahead of time.
It's an abstention. It's a no vote.
What we did decide to do was have Dr. Inamoon get back to us. He did.
And he just did.
And
And he
he
said
just
he
did,
can't
and-
afford it.
Well, we got to discuss that as to whether or not we want to do that. We'll do that in personnel and come back to the board. All right. It is now 5 to 9. I'd like to go to executive session if everybody's okay with that. So we can get out of here. All right. Glenn, would you read the resolution for executive? Shouldn't take us that long.
Okay, I'm not sure if that's in
As
here,
long
but
as we
I'll,
stay on track.
I actually don't think it's in here, but I'll wing it. I'll move to go into executive session at
8:55.
8:55 PM for the purpose of, for approximately 30 minutes, for the purpose of discussing HIVs, matters concerning client privilege. That's pretty much it, right?
Yep. All, second? Thank you, Will. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll retreat to the back room.
Thank you for coming.
No, I think I asked Heidi. She said
I have a quick question for you.
I came in
Still
today.
going to do I'm sorry. Are you still going to be able to do anything about the AP human?
Bidding starts take
That's not gonna cut it.
Really? We're good? Okay.
Al's got the stamp.
And I don't in the rain, so, we have to.
It is 9:15. We're back from executive session. And Mrs. Dwyer, the microphone is yours.
Thank you. Okay, move to affirm The results of the HIV investigative reports for April 4th, 2017 E16 and 2017 E18 as unsubstantiated.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, seeing none, roll call, please, Barbara.
Mrs. Dwyer.
Yes.
Mr. Huber.
Yes.
Mrs. Fritz. Yes. Mr. Seidowitz.
Yes.
Mr. Drew.
Yes.
Mr. Foodie.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I didn't think so. Thank you, everyone, for yes, yes. Okay. Actually, we could have wanted to stay.
Unsubstantiated?
Actually, we didn't officially say the meeting.
Yeah, you did. You did. We terminated. You said go home to your families, go home to your beds.
Well, no, that's what you want to hear.
You know me
Almost
too
this
well.
whole side of the room is sick. So.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in between it. You're on the outer end.
I've taken the call.
I'm so mad. I'm feeling bad.
You're good. I do this to
She did. I do too.
I don't like to walk around my house. No, Kate was probably here.